What is up, my fellow nerds? So as you heard, Sony and Disney have hit kind of a snag in their negotiations for Spider-Man. Now a lot of people are freaking out about this. A lot of people are going to the internet to save Spider-Man, and all those trending hashtags. But really, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I really don't, because at the end of the day, Disney's gonna win because Sony, as foolhardy, as stupid as they may think, they can survive without Disney. They can't. They think just because they had success with Venom and Into the Spider-Verse, they can survive without Disney. They really can't. Uh, so it's like you look at it, and Venom, yeah, it grossed $800 million, but when was it released? It was released in October. It went up against nothing. There was nothing for it. There was nothing for it to compete against. It was literally the only thing in town. So yeah, it made 800 million against nothing. Its biggest competitor was A Star Is Born and First Man, which, from what I understand, was not all that. Two Oscar contenders, A Star Is Born and First Man. I haven't seen First Man yet. I hear great things. Star Is Born was great, but still the same. You put it up against a couple of Oscar contenders, and yeah, it won. It made 800 million. Yippee doodah, yippee day. Into the Spider-Verse. Yeah, it made 300 million, something like that, off a $90 million budget. But really, when you look at it, it went up, and it came out in December. Its first week, it went up against nobodies, a bunch of movies that it went up against nothing. And then in the subsequent weeks, it got walloped by Aquaman, Mary Poppins, Bumblebee, stuff like that. So yeah, it may have made a lot of money, but really it got walloped at the box office when bigger movies came out. So where does this leave Sony? Well, here's the thing. This Deadline report that came out yesterday, who do you think leaked that? Who do you think leaked that information? You think Sony leaked it? No. No. Sony needed this deal. Sony knew without this deal, they can't survive. Their biggest and most profitable franchise is Spider-Man. Sony is actually reporting profits this year thanks to Far From Home, which is largely because of Marvel Studios' involvement, and Sony knows that. Disney also knows this, which is why Disney asked Sony for a 50-50 profit share. Disney also knew that if word of this got out, they would have the public solely behind them, and the public would basically feed Sony its lunch. Exactly what the public is doing right now. You see everything online. Sony is taking a brunt of fan backlash, just like Disney thought would happen. So this thing with Deadline, I personally think Disney leaked this. I really do, and for a couple of reasons. Number one, D23 Expo is coming up this weekend. Because D23 Expo is coming out this weekend. Not only that, Sony is set to re-release Spider-Man Far From Home with 4 minutes of extra footage. Yay! In it. Now, they saw what Marvel did with Endgame and how Marvel re-released Endgame, and they were able to make another, I think, $100 million off of it. Sony is hoping to do the same thing with Far From Home. That ain't gonna happen now. People are going to avoid this movie like the plague next weekend. Sony ain't gonna make a goddamn dollar off of that movie next weekend, all because of this news. People are blaming Sony. There's a reason why boycott Sony is trending on Twitter. Now, for the most part, Sony is the one that's coming out and issuing statements about this. And surprise, surprise, they're blaming Disney. We respect Disney's decision. Blah, blah, blah. We hope to renegotiate. Yada, yada, yada. They hope to renegotiate because that was their lifeline. Their two most profitable franchises were Spider-Man and James Bond. And Spider-Man just went down the toilet. Everything they were planning is gone. They're saying, well, we got two more Tom Holland movies. No, you don't. No, you don't. You can't make a Tom Holland movie. Nope, not happening. And the reason why is Tom Holland's Spider-Man is way too connected with the MCU. It is way too connected to the MCU. You cannot just unplug from that. That's too big of a bell to ring. No, you're going to have to start from scratch all over again. For the third time in 15 years. Good luck with that. Oh, well, we got Morbius. Yeah, Morbius ain't that interesting. It ain't going to make you shit. Oh, well, we got Venom 2. Yeah, you're going to try and put Venom 2 as a summer blockbuster, and you're going to take a loss on that badly. I mean, you look at everything that Sony's done. Hell, Men in Black, that was supposed to be their big summer tentpole. That was supposed to be their big summer deal. Men in Black bombed badly. Bombed. Just hit like a thud. That thing was a turd. The only saving grace for Sony was Marvel Studios. They were dead in the water before Marvel Studios came along. They knew it. And guess what? Now they're dead in the water again. They're gonna say, we're gonna just integrate Tom Holland into the Venomverse. No, you're not. You'll ruin that franchise like that. You cannot integrate Tom Holland into the Venomverse. It won't work. So there goes that bright idea. Oh, well, we'll just recast Spider-Man. Yeah, you're gonna have Spider-Man show up unannounced in a movie about Venom, and you're going to have to try and explain how Spider-Man just magically showed up. Yeah, good luck with that one. Well, we could tell Kraven the Hunter backstory. We could tell the Kraven the Hunter story we want to tell. Yeah, in about 3 or 4 years, once you successfully get everything rebooted, because you ain't doing shit with Tom Holland. I can tell you that right now. So basically, is Sony taking a gamble here? Yes. Is Disney taking a gamble here? Yes. It is a very calculated gamble. Disney is banking on the fact that Sony can't survive without them. And it's a very, very good bet that they can't. Because Sony has not proved for a long time now that they can survive without Disney. Everything that they've done outside of Spider-Man has landed with a thud. Men in Black. Ghostbusters. Jumanji brings in some money, but not much. Sony does not have a whole hell of a lot to work with. And now that they have to make another Spider-Man movie and reboot Spider-Man again outside of the MCU, yeah, no, that's not happening. So, where do we go forward? Well, Disney hasn't said nothing yet, and I suspect they might say something this weekend at D23. Either that or they're going to stay very, very quiet. And they're just going to let the public just destroy Disney for them and do pretty much all their work. Or they're going to come out, take the high road, and they're going to say, well, we hope to have a deal done. This isn't the end, blah, 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 blah. You know, spin it. Basically, Disney is going to make it look like Sony is incompetent, whereas Sony is just kind of blaming Disney. And, you know, I don't really blame Sony, because Disney, I don't really blame Disney either, because the whole thing that kind of brought this thing together was Disney wanted a 50-50 split, which I can understand. Disney is doing half the work. Not only this, Disney knows that Sony's not going to last long without them, and that they're going to have to sell anyway. And when they do sell, the rights to Spider-Man are going to revert back to Marvel anyway, which is Disney. So Disney knows this. Sony knows this. It's the worst kept secret in Hollywood. So, Sony's acting like they're fine about. Well, we can do it without Disney. No, you can't. You really can't. You got Tom Rothman at the head of the table. Tom Rothman, the guy who thought it would be a good idea to keep Deadpool's mouth shut. The guy who thought that Deadpool wouldn't sell anything. Yeah, that guy. That guy's a fucking moron. The guy who thought the third X-Men was X-Men Last Stand was a great idea. Yeah, that guy. Yeah, no, good luck getting a franchise off the ground with him. Venom was a mess before Tom Rothman got into the editing room, or at least before Tom Rothman claimed he got into the editing room. And now there are reports that Kevin Feige had a hand in Venom, which would explain why it looks so much better than what the initial reports were. Let's see. They lose the MCU, they lose everything. And not only that, if Disney wanted to, they could just buy Sony Pictures. It wouldn't cost them a fucking thing. Well, it would cost them a little bit, but it wouldn't cost them a lot. Disney could buy Sony if they wanted to. The only problem there is they run into the Department of Justice and antitrust laws, and I think buying Sony would officially make them a monopoly. So I don't think they would buy Sony outright. Sony Pictures I can see them buying just to get Spider-Man back. And Bob Iger is on record saying that one of his goals is to get all the characters back under the Marvel roof. So why not go buy Sony Pictures for whatever it would take? And I don't think it would take that much. Not only that, but before the original deal, there were reports out that Disney was considering buying back the Spider-Man property. I forget how much it was, but I think it was like $5 billion or something like that. So, basically, where this leaves us now is one of two things are going to happen. Either Disney is just going to buy Sony Pictures outright and just cut out the middleman altogether, and that's fine. Or Sony Pictures is going to cave when they realize they ain't got a leg to stand in or a pot to piss in, and they're going to cave to Disney's demands, and that's going to be the end of that. Either way, Spider-Man is not leaving the MCU. As a matter of fact, Disney has insulated themselves from this a little bit, which is kind of smart because they don't have any Avengers films planned for like 5 years anyway. And if you look at their current slate of movies going into 2021 and beyond, they don't have anything that really requires Spider-Man story-wise. So they've given themselves some time to figure something out. So, they got Phase 4 figured out. They got their slate of movies for 2020 and 2021 and possibly 2022. And it doesn't include anything that really involves Spider-Man story-wise yet. They may run into a problem in 2022 when they have to figure out what comes after Blade. So if Black Panther or Captain Marvel, that sort of thing, they may have to figure out, they may be on a little bit of a clock there. But at the end of the day, Disney has left themselves some time to figure out what to do about Spider-Man. And really, I think in the end, it's going to work out for Disney because Sony, they can't win. They just can't. They're hemorrhaging money. They think they're in a better place. They think they can go it alone without Disney. They're completely wrong. They're gonna be sold in a couple of years anyway. And when they are, the rights to Spider-Man are gonna revert back to Disney anyway for free. So really, when you think about it, Disney is actually giving Sony a lifeline. It's basically, well, you can take 50-50 now, or you can wait and we can just get the character back for free in about 2 or 3 years when you're bought by Apple, or if we decide to buy you, or if somebody else decides to buy you. Um, that's pretty much the stark reality of it. Like I said, think this I don't think this thing is really big news. I think, yeah, it's a little bit of a speed bump, but at the end of the day, I don't think Spider-Man's going anywhere. I think we're going to get more story from Spider-Man in the MCU. May have to wait a little bit longer to resolve the events from Far From Home, a little bit longer than 2 years. But at the end of the day, yeah, I think Disney's going to win in the end, because Sony, they can't hold out for long. They can posture all they want, and they can talk tough for the short term, but in the long term, they're going to realize they're fucked. And that's just the way that is. And Disney knows it, and that's kind of why I think Disney planned this on purpose. And this is basically Disney killing Sony as we know it. And when it all comes down to it, history is going to remember August 20th, 2019 as the day that Sony Pictures in its current form died.